All right, Cam, I'm going to show you one of my all-time favorite surprise bar tricks. I got 9 4.5-inch nails there. I want you to pick one of them. All right, hold it where everyone can see it. Try to bend that nail. Does that bend at all? Make sure it's not made of rubber. It's not kind of any kind of trick nail, right? No switcheroos, no fancy fake nails. This is a feat that dates back 100 years, called the human blockhead. Here we go. Who's gasping? This is like a sword swallowing in miniature, except it's going inside the maxillary sinus. When this stops, I'll actually feel it touch the back of my throat. Some people think it's a trick nail, but I swear it's not. That was a booger joke. All right, here we go. Now here's the important part, Cam. I need you to reach forward with your pinching fingers and grab just the tip of that nail. All right, hold perfectly still. I'm gonna start, here we go, pull, go, 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 and that is a souvenir for you, Cam.
Okay, I'm gonna put it
You're gonna frame it, you're gonna sell it on eBay.
You have to sign it somewhere.
That's right, it's got my DNA all over it.
Okay.
There's no need for a signature.
Let me introduce this. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menonton rakaman khas agenda Awani dan ini adalah suatu seorang tamu yang tak biasa saya menduga. Beliau adalah Brian Brushwood dan saya ingin berbicara bahasa Inggeris. I'm here on the sideline of KL Converge 2015 and KL Converge have always brought together great minds, great speakers, and today I've managed to steal one away for me to interview, and this is Brian Brushwood, a magician, but he's also a very, very great content producer on the multiple content platform, you know, television, small screens, YouTube millionaire. YouTube millionaire means more than 1 million visitors or subscribers to his particular content. So, Brian, thank you so much. I know you flew straight for 30 plus hours just to be here in this very, very hot and humid place.
It's going to be a good 16 hours before I got back on that plane for 30 more hours back.
I know shocking people out of whatever they're doing at home. It's not the only thing that you do. There's other tricks that you have. But at the end of the day, converge means convergent. And even though you're a magician, but you also masters at using multiple platforms to be able to push out and share this with millions of people around the world.
Yes.
So how did you manage to do that? Because you didn't go to Hogwarts and learn magic in a college. You went to a real higher education institution.
Yeah.
And you went through all the motion just like anyone else studying in university, having professors, doing thesis. But yet, here you are, a magician that knows how to adapt to new multimedia content.
Well, and it's funny because 10 years ago, if you asked me who I was and what I did for a living, it was a very simple answer. I am a touring stage magician, and that was what I did. And I did thousands of shows and you know, performed at giant theme parks for thousands of people. But then I had this idea of, you know, in so many ways, we're seeing the early days of television. When radio was king and then televisions first started, nobody knew what to do. They were like, I don't know, take the radio guys and put them on there.
Yep.
Same thing happened again in the 1970s in the United States. They deregulated cable and they're like, I don't know, let's just have a channel that plays old movies. And whoever got there first established their place. And I realized that was happening again in magic. You know, in television magic, everyone knew David Blaine and David Copperfield were #1. In cable magic, everyone knew Chris Angel was #1. But if I said, who's the magician of the internet, nobody knew. And I realized that there was an opening. So we launched Scam School, and it slowly grew organically. But then I realized that that's great for that one angle, but there's more unfilled niches.
Right, just for those who, you know, who might go to certain other channels on YouTube and not to Scam School. Scam School is where you go to learn in the West, for especially how to scam your friends to buy you a drink, or total strangers to buy you a drink.
Correct.
That's the macro concept of it.
Yes, correct. That's the conceit. And sometimes it's an easy trick. So, you know, in fact, like this human blockhead, we explain how it's done. Sometimes we prevent you from being defrauded by bad guys by teaching the methods that bad guys use to pick locks and that kind of stuff. There's something about it that what I love about Scam School is every episode is short and sweet, and you walk away learning something new that you could try on your friends that very day.
How did you go from, you know, earning a degree to all this?
It helps that the degree that I earned is kind of a funny degree because I had to have a thesis to graduate. It's very structured. It's a high-end honors program at UT, and originally I thought that maybe I could get away with getting a trick published or writing a paper on the history of magic. And I walked in to the dean's office, and she says, "Well, what is your thesis going to be?" And I got the words out. I said, "Well, for the last few years I've been studying magic." And then before I could say anything else, she said, "And you want to do a creative writing thesis and do a magic show? That's a great idea." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking." So for the next 2 years, all I did was take a history of witchcraft, languages of science fiction, pseudoscience and the paranormal, books on psychology and so on. And at the time, I thought I was playing a trick on the university, but it turns out, it turns out I do exactly what my thesis is now.
This is the University of Texas in Austin.
Yeah, University of Texas at Austin, very, very big school, but I was in a very small program.
So be careful if you're going to that particular uni. but so you're an intellect actually, but also a magician. So now that you are a millionaire on YouTube, where next?
That's a really good question. Well, one of the things that I don't know, to be honest. I guess another million is where we're headed.
Cool. That's cool.
Because what's funny is YouTube rewards success because YouTube wants to build their brand of superstars. And what's interesting is the more popular Scam School gets, the faster it's getting successful as well. And part of that is, you know, just the brand is becoming better known. But part of it also is YouTube search algorithms intentionally favor popular content because the robots assume if it's popular, it must be good.
Okay, I have to go for the first break, but once we are back, because I have introduced you to the Malaysian audience, and in this country we still have a transition period, I call it, where a lot of Generation Y, they want to do what they want to do. But a lot of parents who came from the previous generation will want, I don't care whatever it is, you must finish your degree, be an engineer, accountant, lawyer, or any of one of these things, because how are you going to make your living?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to throw this at them and say, oh, what, my son is going to be a traveling magician on YouTube or something. So let's talk about commercialization, because you went to university anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a lot of questions in the mind of a lot of people. Sure, this sounds great. You know, might be what I would like to
Sure.
But how do you make money out of it? Let's discuss that after this short break. You are still watching a special recorded session of Agenda Awani on the sideline of KL Converge 2015. And for the first time ever, I'm with a magician who has a university degree. And I think if I read his bio correctly on Wikipedia and all those stuff, he actually worked to produce high-end computers for a while.
I did, yeah.
So this is not a trick. He's the real deal of everything. But how do you make money for this?
Well, so I was lucky in that magic always made money. Even when I was in college, I would be able to make, a couple $100 here or there doing magic shows. And even after I graduated for 2 years, I worked in computers, and we designed high-end workstations and ISPs and stuff. And as far as working for a big company goes, it was a pretty good gig. But I lived for Wednesday nights when I would go downtown and just do a 30-minute show and pass the hat, and I would only make $50. And I always thought, like, one of these days, maybe I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll try magic. But then what happened was, at my day job, I got a raise. And I looked, and all of a sudden, it was grown-up money. Like, that's like, I realized if they do this again, if I get another raise, it'll become too much money to walk away from. And I realized that's how you get trapped doing something you hate for the rest of your life, right?
Thank you for making me feel better.
Yes. Well, and so when I first quit my job, it was a one-year experiment. Cool. I just told my wife, I was like, I can't live my life wondering what might have been. I have to know that I at least tried. Yeah. And I was fine. I was like, worst case scenario, I go $30,000 in debt, and then I'm just like everyone else with student debt, and I go back to work, and I do it with a clean conscience and a clean mind. And instead, within 2 years, I was doing TV appearances and started to, I would say it took about 2 years to recover financially, but then once we did recover, things just kept going up and up and up, and by the third or fourth year, it was very clear that doing magic was the right call for me. But, it may not be the right call for everyone.
You're a multi-millionaire US dollars now.
I wish. Over the years, you earn all that money, but it's expensive being on the road. It's not so hard to earn the money. It's hard to keep the money.
But it's $1 US to about 4 Malaysian ringgit over.
So there we go. So over here in Malaysia, yeah. Oh, I like that.
So make Malaysia your second home.
Yeah.
But if I look at things the way your life has gone, I'm sure your hands will be itchy to just do the next big thing that will astound people. Because the thing about routine of producing short clips of video on YouTube is that the ritual settles into a pace.
Right.
And I'm sure you're the kind of mind that, this is all good, but I want to move on to the next level.
You're the magician. You're the one reading my mind. That's exactly what it is. Well, Scam School's gone through various phases, and we only started producing them in-house, all with my own production company, 2.5 years ago. But it really has been in the last 6 months that we're like, okay, we need to start writing the next big thing. And what's great is in a world of YouTube, we could try something totally separate on a totally different channel, and it could be a total flop, and it will not affect Scam School at all. And that's what last year, what that was we did Hacking the System for National Geographic, which I think they call it under different names in different international markets, like Life Hacker. But that was such a fascinating experience to work. When we do Scam School, we could keep it small, a lot like this. We have a couple cameras, and we can fix a lot in the edit, and we don't have to worry about. But for Hollywood, when they do stuff, they rent out the entire bar, they close it down, they hire extras to populate everything. And it was exciting to see all of that stuff, but I don't know that that's how I would do it. So we're talking about some different ideas for the next big project, but I'm not ready to say what they are yet.
How would you choose to look at, because Scam School is a brand by itself.
Yeah.
But your name is also a brand by itself.
Right.
So, sometimes it intersects, sometimes it doesn't. But if you were to go global, you might have to choose which one to put the money behind.
That's exactly right. And it's interesting because, for example, I love discussions like this, talking about the high-end nature of community building and the digital transformation of what new media is making possible. Nobody watching Scam School wants to see this version of Brian. They're just thinking, "Shut up, do a trick." It's like,
do it,
yeah, exactly. And that's great. That's why we'll always keep Scam School focused on that. But I am excited that that's why we started 3 different podcasts. One we talk about space aliens. One we talk about news in cable companies, and the other is just a comedy podcast. And they're all little different islands, but they all kind of make up the Republic of Brian Brushwood.
It's good to talk about the platform, but if we focus back towards the subject of magic, when I was young, you just get amazed when people pull a rabbit out of a hat. But nowadays, even on cable, there'll be show of unraveling the trick, showing how it's done, how we feel like we're complete bloody fools, pardon the language. But how do you move on forward? Because if there's also TV series and series on YouTube showing how the trick is done,
right?
Then how would that impact magic for the future?
Well, here's the thing. Magicians it's interesting. Most magicians get it. They understand that YouTube is not television. YouTube is a library. It's the greatest library of tutorial knowledge in the history of mankind. So these same guys who had really warm feelings about going to the library and getting old magic books and writing it. Ever since the 1500s, magicians, as fast as they could think of tricks, they've been writing them out and publishing them. Yep. It's just a little bit weird that we live in a world now that it's easily accessible for everyone to do. Now, on the one hand, it does make it easy for somebody to figure out how a magic trick is done, but also it is elevating the art in that people are putting together amazing creative routines because they're learning magic faster than ever. In America, there's a program called Penn and Teller Fool Us, and Penn and Teller are two of the most famous, brilliant magical thinkers in history, and yet almost every episode they get fooled. So it's like if they can get fooled, we all can get fooled.
Cool. Okay, I have to go for the last break, and I think I remember reading one of your interviews where you said in the future, a magician will be born by just learning his tricks from YouTube, the internet, everything else. So if that's the future, then where would you be in that future? Would you be the master sorcerer, magician, all around the world, people emailing you and you just point the fingers at things? Or do you see a role in a different way? Because while there's homogeneity in the tricks and the makeup of it, but if you assimilate that to culture, different culture has got different dimensions to it, and there are still a lot of mysteries around the world, and magic and mystery will always go hand in hand. That we'll discuss after the short break.
So here's what's fascinating to me, is it turns out that there are actual classes of magic tricks that I think are better when you know how they're done.
Cool.
Like when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I guess I got fooled. But then when you learn it, you're like, what? There's no way that's possible. For example, one of my favorite bar bets is I'll grab a pint glass or really whatever's around, and I'll ask people, everyone take out $1, right? They'll lay out a big stack of dollars and then say, put your dollar in one pile if you think the circumference around this glass is longer. Put it in another pile if you think the height is taller. So like right now, let's say you're casting your dollar vote. Would you say the circumference around the top is longer or the height from here down to the table?
Circumference way longer.
Well, you would go with circumference, right? Yeah. So well, here, what if we kind of raise that up a bit? Where would you vote there?
Maybe still.
Maybe still. All right. You know what? Here, let's stack the. All right. How about that?
Then the other way around.
All right. So now you're totally in, right? But yet, check this out. I'm going to try to not tip this over. Here, reach over it. Yeah, there you go. And I'm going to be as fair as I can on this, as we measure all the way around. Wait for it. There we go. Like that. Does that look fair?
Yeah. Cool.
And yet it's still circumference with 3 inches to spare. And it turns out this is just a weird psychological defect. It's an optical illusion that we can't break our minds around. A pint glass is almost a foot around at the top. And to me, it is more expanding to learn why that magic works and to find out where those other blind spots exist in other aspects of our lives, because people lose a lot of money financially because they're giving them to some fraudulent psychics and so on.
Add on top of that the advancements of technology in terms of visual imagery or whatever else, and you see that more and more on TV or on internet too.
Yeah.
Would you be going that way, infusing it with more and more of technological problems?
Well, and plus also, what's great is technology makes a lot of things possible, and yet the simplest moves are often among the best. For example, if you're not a magician, most people tend to think that there's a high-tech answer for everything. And sometimes there is, but almost always it's not, because when you rely on technology, new technology comes along that makes it obsolete, right? The best magic tricks are the ones that are already over by the time you say, let's begin. And let me show you what I mean here. Let's grab a couple of these. I don't even know which cards these are. Let's do. So here, let's do. Hold out your hand, Cam. We got what? The 5 of hearts. We'll say the red 5, right? Keep it nice and simple. And then we also have the red 4, right? So all you got to do is tell me which one's on top, the red 5 or the red 4.
Red 4.
The red 4. Yeah, it's not a trick question. The red 4 is on top. The red 5 is underneath. These guys have nothing to do with the trick.
I always get fooled every time.
And what's great about that is because you'll notice that I showed you the cards and set it there, and then we had this moment where it's like, well, let's begin. Yes. By the time I said let's begin, the trick was already over, right? Yes.
So I asked before we go to the break to put the picture for the audience, the element of mystery must always be there. So I'm sure you traveled the world, and you must have noticed that all around different communities and cultures, there's always different side to a mystery. Maybe in the part of East Asia, it's more about the unknown and stuff like that. So that is maybe another part that you can look at? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's difficult because it makes you wonder, what is mystery? There will always be mystery. And some people say, oh, well, we want to believe in mystical energies or ghosts or whatever. But to me, there's no mystery there, because once you get in that realm, you just make up whatever story you want and you just decide it,
there's
right?
Nothing empirical about it.
Correct. And because you're allowed to just make it up, that means there's no mystery. However, whether or not we're alone in the universe, we can't make up whether or not there are space aliens. We can't make up how gravitational lensing or how black holes are formed or something. That is something that we genuinely don't know yet. So, if you're about science, then you're about what I consider to be the real mysteries out there.
What would be satisfying for you, for example, from SAM school? Would it be an Asian-based young magician learning from your SCAM school and coming out with his or her own, using the elements around them?
Well, there's a healthy community of people who are teaching tutorials, but it's interesting because there's intellectual property rights that you can copyright the words to a routine, you can trademark or patent the gizmos that are used, but the heart of a magic trick can be ripped off, and this is something that comedians have done for years. So to me, Scam School, is a very prominent show where we teach magic, which I didn't realize it, but that means I have a very important role for all of these youngsters coming up in magic to say, it's fine to teach your tricks, but make sure they're your tricks, or that you have the permission of the person who created it. That's one of the things that we've gotten really good at in the last couple of years is every single thing we put on Scam School, if there's a single living magician who owns the rights to it, we get his direct permission for it.
I wish I could have you for 1 hour, but as we go towards the final minutes of this interview, at KL Converge, the intention is also to give inspiration to the young, bringing so many role models from all over the world to look at things so that they can hear, feel, touch for themselves and discuss. So, to the audience that have not made it to this particular convention center to see and hear from you for yourself, what would your advice be? Because there would be, this is no trick at all, there would be young people who are like you, I've gotten a degree, now I'm this job, but maybe this is not for me, but for me to even consider going outside this, oh my God, so many uncertainties out there, What if I can't afford to lose $30,000 US, because that's 120?
Yeah, sure, right.
For example, so what would your advice
Well,
be?
I did it the wrong way. I did it the lazy way because I believed that if I quit my job, suddenly I would be a successful magician. What I should have done, and there's a fantastic book written by John Acuff called Quitter, and he says what you do is you change your perception of what your job means. Consider your employer your patron now. Okay. You are drawing a paycheck so that you can build this business in the off hours.
Prepare.
Exactly, exactly, and not get totally screwed over. And you know, that in other words, the way I did it, there was no room for failure. If I failed, it would have been devastating for us, and I got lucky. But if you keep your day job and keep doing this on the side, yes, it is a lot more work. Yes, you're going to be double tired at the end of the day, but you have the freedom to fail, and you can fail safely and gracefully, and that's exactly what you need to get ahead.
There you go, the best advice from the best magician on
You're
the
too
net.
kind.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Brian,
you,
for
Cam. That
making
was
time.
amazing.
Good luck for your next 30+ hour travel.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I think my flight's already off.
Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. Terima kasih banyak yang telah menonton. Ini adalah rakaman khas agenda Awani di sisi KL Converge 2015, dan insyaAllah hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri kepada pelbagai platform yang Astro Awani ada, YouTube, Instagram dan sebagainya, ataupun muat turun aplikasi mudah alih iOS dan Android, dan insyaAllah kita akan jumpa lagi. Sekian, selamat malam, terima kasih.